What's up, everybody? We're back. Corey Hughes, Bloody History. So we're going to continue on with this file on Roy Truly and some of the witnesses within the book depository. And I've highlighted the fact that everyone in the world, even some of these dumb fucking Kennedy researchers, they still believe that this incident in the lunchroom on the second floor with Oswald drinking a Coke actually happened. It never happened. It's a complete myth. The actual incident happened on the stairwell, and it happened on either the third or fourth floor. This is confirmed by the handwritten notes and the typewritten statement by Marion Baker, as well as a memo by J.W. Fritz confirming those reports. So the entire incident on the second floor lunchroom with a Coke is complete fabrication, it's propaganda, and the reason they created that story in the first place was because they had to cover for the fact that Baker had been involved in the arrest of Emilio Santana outside of the book depository. So that's captured in the Willis 10 photo. But today we're going to continue on with this file. We're about halfway through with it. Roy Truly is the focus. Remember, Roy Truly threw Oswald under the bus. He allegedly gave them the address at the boarding house, but he didn't have the address at the boarding house. Don't know how the fuck they got that. The only address he should have had was the address at the Paynes, but he also had the Elspeth address, which I'm going to have to do some more digging into. Here we go. We have this is a memo, Roy Truly and Jack Doherty, written at the top, dated March 12, 64, to J. Lee Rankin from Melvin A. Eisenberg, subject identity of assassin. It says, I think a thorough investigation should be run on TSBD employee named Jack Doherty. On the morning of November 22nd, Doherty was part of a crew laying a new plywood floor on the 6th floor of the Tech School Book Depository. This crew consisted of Danny Ark, Doherty, Charles Givens, James Jr. Jarman, Billy Lovelady, and Bonnie Ray Williams. All regular employees in the Tech School Book Depository shipping and order filling department. They were apparently working under the direction of William Shelley, the senior employee in that department. In a written statement to the Dallas police on November 22nd, Doherty gave the following story. On the morning of November 22nd, he had worked with the floor laying crew on the 6th floor until 12 o'clock. He went down to the 1st floor to eat his lunch. After lunch, he returned to work on the 6th floor and then went down to the 6th floor to get some stock when he heard a shot, which sounded as if he had come from inside the building. He then went down to the 1st floor and asked Eddie Piper, the janitor, and whether Piper had heard anything. Piper said yes, he heard 3 shots. Doherty then returned to the 6th floor. S.A. Blake of the Secret Service, who interviewed Doherty between December 2nd and December 5th, reported that when Doherty was interviewed, he seemed to be very confused about time and place. Mr. Truly, that's Roy Truly, the superintendent of the building, furnished the information that although Doherty is a very good employee and hard worker, he's mentally retarded and has been had difficulty in remembering facts such as dates, times, and places, and has been especially confused since the assassination. I am suspicious of Doherty for several reasons. One, he has no alibi. Of the 6 employees laying floor on the 6th floor, Givens claims to have been with a friend in the parking lot several blocks away from the assassination when it took place. Williams said Jarman were together on the 5th floor with another employee named, I can't read it, it's smudged, but it's one of the 3, obviously, Jarman or Bonnie Ray Williams. Oh, Jarman, that's what it says. Lovelady standing outside the Tech School Depository and was photographed, and Art claims to have been standing outside Tech School Depository. Doherty was inside and all alone. His story is very thin. It does not make sense that Doherty, one of 6 men floor laying crew, should begin working before the other 5 members return from lunch. It is questionable that Doherty would have to go to the 5th floor to get stock in connection with the floor laying project. There's a note at the bottom here that says Doherty's father told the FBI that Doherty had received a medical discharge from the U.S. Army and had considerable difficulty coordinating his mental facilities and his speech. So let me just give you my commentary on Doherty. Like, everybody likes to throw Doherty under the bus because his statements are wildly off, right? They're very incorrect. There's no possibility he heard shots at 12:45 from the 5th floor, right? So when you really dig into like everything that was said about Doherty and the investigation that was done into him, and you take into consideration the fact that he was released from the U.S. Army because he couldn't coordinate his faculties, it's pretty obvious that this guy has some sort of mental problems, and that his discrepancies in his statements were just because the guy's a fucking retard. I mean, there's really no other way to put it. He's probably not retarded. He probably just has some sort of mental disorder. Jarman, Norman, and Williams, who were at the southeast window of the fifth floor at the time of the assassination and ran there from the south to the southwest window, make absolutely no mention of having seen Doherty on the fifth floor. It does not seem credible that Doherty would have gone down to the first floor, found out the shots had been fired, and then casually returned to the sixth floor. No report indicates that Doherty or anyone else was on the sixth floor when the floor was searched. Since Doherty heard the shots on the fifth floor, and since the shots were fired at approximately 12:32, Doherty must have returned to the sixth floor, allegedly to go back to work before 12:30. This seems odd since the lunch period extends until 12:45. If Doherty is mentally retarded, it may explain some of the inconsistencies in his story. On the other hand, the mental retardation may be an emotional problem, which would be itself grounds for suspicion. In this connection, I find disturbing Truly's consent that something that Doherty had been especially confused since the assassination. Yeah, I don't put too much stock into Doherty at all. I mean, there's literally no information on his whereabouts. Nobody saw him at any of the times when they should have seen him. Is he faking being a mentally retarded person? I highly doubt it. So I'm really not putting any stock in the idea that Doherty knew anything. Here we have a statement. I, Roy Sansom Truly, being duly sworn, say I'm the superintendent of the Texas School Book Depository Building in Dallas, Texas. 2, the door opening on the vestibule of the lunchroom on the second floor of the Texas School Book Depository Building is usually shut because of a closing mechanism on the door. Signed this third day of August 64 at the Texas School Book Depository, 411 Elm Street. All right. We have another memo here dated July 30th, 64. Mr. H. Barefoot Sanders, U.S. Attorney. Dear Mr. Sanders, encloses an affidavit to be signed by Roy Truly, Superintendent of the Texas School Book Depository Building. Would you be good enough to see that Mr. Truly signs the affidavit and has it notarized? We would appreciate the return of this affidavit as soon as possible. And that's the one we just covered. All right. Now we have an FBI report dated 7/17/64. Roy Truly, director of the Texas School Book Depository, Dallas, advised that in the fall of 63, his company was having various firms conduct surveys with a view to automating much of their operation. He said it was decided as a result of these studies to install automated devices handled by the Frieden Company, and it became apparent that automation would make it necessary for the Texas School Book Depository to get rid of at least one employee on a supervisory level in the accounting department. He said that there were 2 men in the accounting department from which to choose. One was Otis Williams, who was in charge of the bookkeeping department, and the other was Joe Molina, the credit manager. Both were good employees. Both had been with the company for about the same length of time. Officials of the company did not feel that Molina had a good overall knowledge of the operation of the accounting department as well as Williams, and accordingly chose to retain Williams rather than Molina. Molina was given advance notice of the plans of the company and considerable severance pay so that he would have an opportunity to seek work elsewhere before automation actually began. Mr. Truly said that O.V. Campbell, vice president of the firm, was Molina's direct supervisor, and he would have complete information concerning this matter. He said, however, that although they heard some allegations immediately following the assassination of President Kennedy that Molina had some subversive affiliations, he could not recall the specific allegations made or exactly when or where he heard them, other than through local news media. He said Molina had been an efficient and trusted employee of the firm for 16 years, had never given any indication of disloyalty, and the allegations of subversive affiliations on the part of Molina did not play a part in his discharge by the Texas School Book Depository. He said he felt Molina's period of unemployment was brief, that he drew unemployment compensation for a brief period and then secured work in the credit union of the Newhoff Brothers Packers in Dallas. Roy Truly, is a new document dated 6/15/64. Roy Truly, warehouse supervisor, Texas School Book Depository, 411 Elm Street, advised he's responsible for hiring and firing all warehouse personnel. He stated he has no one within his employ within the past 10 years meeting the following description. A white male, 35, 6'2", 160 pounds, hair black, eyes blue, build very slender, facial characteristics a long face. Truly advised The only possibility that the Texas School Book Depository may have ever employed an individual meeting this description would have been 10 or 15 years ago and would have been summer employment. Truly stated their warehouse was $1.25 per hour for summer employment, and anyone with any ability would not want to work for $1.25 per hour. Truly stated that he had never heard of Lee Harvey Oswald until October 15, 1963, and would discount any story that Oswald had planned to go to work at the Texas School Book Depository in either April or May of 63. So obviously there was some kind of rumor that that was the case, right? Roy Truly, this new document, 5/23/64. Roy Truly, warehouse superintendent, Texas School Book Depository, advised that the employee of the Texas School Book Depository was mentioned in the news media after the assassination of President John Kennedy on November 22nd, 63, as having been eating fried chicken for lunch on the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository on the day of the assassination is Bonnie Ray Williams. Mr. Truly stated that Williams is still employed at the Texas School Book Depository. Okay, so Bonnie Ray Williams ate that on the 5th floor. It was never on the 6th floor. Never. Never, never, never. All right. Continuing to go back in time here. April 24th, 64. Roy Truly, warehouse supervisor, Texas School Book Depository, 411 Elm Street, Dallas, advised that he recalls on the afternoon of November 22nd, following the assassination of President Kennedy, that Lieutenant Carl Day of the Dallas Police Department Crime Lab was collecting numerous items of possible evidentiary value. With the assistance of several detectives on the premises of the depository building, Truly advised, however, he does not specifically recall accompanying Lieutenant Day to the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository to remove a piece of molding from the window believed to have been used by Lee Harvey Oswald in the commission of the assassination of President Kennedy. Truly accompanied interviewing agents to the 6th floor of the depository building and pointed out the window believed used by Oswald. The window was observed to be a wooden frame, double-hung window containing 4 lights in each window half. And was located on the southeast corner, opening to the south. Truly, through tape measurements, determined the window to be 39.5 wide by 70 7/8 high, and containing 8 5/5/8 by 17 5/8 glass lights. Examination of the window still determined that a 3/4 inch strip of wooden molding was missing, and Truly advised the window had been untouched since the assassination, and as it was the only window with this piece missing, he believed this strip of wood in question probably had been removed from the sill by Lieutenant Day. Examination of the sill disclosed 4 nail holes measuring from the east end of the window to each of the 4 nail holes. The following distances were noted: 1 5/8 inch, 14 9/16, 26 1/16, and 38 1/16. Truly pointed out that each of the adjacent windows of similar type had 3/4 inch thick molding for weather stripping purposes running along the sill, and that this particular window was the only one with this strip missing. Interesting, huh? Irrelevant, but interesting. That was by Eugene Petrakis and Raymond Switzer. All right, next one, March 26, 64. Roy Truly is in the handwritten notes up top. Mr. Walter Craig, President, American Bar Association in Washington, D.C. Dear Mr. Craig, as I mentioned to you during our meeting last Monday, members of the commission staff are currently in Dallas taking their depositions of various witnesses. I wish to confirm my invitation to you or your representative to participate during the taking of these depositions in the same manner in which you are currently taking part in the presentation of evidence before the commission, so that you are fully informed regarding the names of the witnesses currently being deposed. I am attaching this letter, a list of witnesses whose depositions have been authorized. The first column sets forth the witnesses to be deposed this week by Mr. Spector, primarily doctors and other personnel of Parkland Hospital. The second, I can't read that. The second something sets forth the names. The second column sets forth the names of witnesses to be handled by, looks like Messrs. Something and Griffin of the communication staff, including officials of the Dallas Police Department and the Sheriff's Office at Dallas, who will be interrogated regarding the building of Lee Harvey, I can't read that, the something of Lee Harvey Oswald. They're transporting the something of Lee Harvey Oswald on November 24, 63. The third column lists the witnesses to be handled by Messrs. Looks like Junior and Liebler to include persons of the Dallas community familiar with certain of Oswald's activities in the months preceding the assassination. These members of the staff are under instructions to take these depositions as expeditiously as they can. I anticipate that the something. All right, so it's just an invitation to Walter Craig to take part in this deposition. It says, let me continue to see if there's anything. Mr. Hubert will remain in Dallas to interrogate witnesses associated with Jack Ruby and his activities prior to the killing of Lee Harvey Oswald, November 24th. Depositions will also be taken next week and the following by Messrs. Ball and Bellin of the commission staff. 3 attorneys will be interrogating additional witnesses from the Dallas Police Department concerned with the investigation of the assassination and various other Dallas witnesses and information to supply regarding Lee Harvey Oswald's involvement in the assassination. When I've authorized the deposition of specific witnesses in this case, I shall supply you with a list of the names. I hope these arrangements meet your approval. All right, then we got a bunch of lists of names attached. I think those are mostly irrelevant. Then we have another memo, March 20th, 64, memorandum for the file. This font looks like CIA, but it might be a FBI. You never know. But it says, memorandum for the file attached is a list of proposed witnesses. The taking of whose testimony has been authorized by Mr. Rankin. Such individuals have not yet been advised that the commission is interested in taking their testimony, although instructions have been given for the preparation of such letters. This memorandum will indicate which of the witnesses clearly must be examined and will set forth the relevant considerations concerning these witnesses as to which requirement is not entirely clear. Mrs. Mary Bledsoe, Mrs. A.C. Johnson, and Mrs. Earlene Roberts. The testimony of the above listed individuals should be clearly taken since they have knowledge of Oswald's activities both prior and after the assassination. Hiram Conway. Conway is a division manager of Leslie Welding Company, Oswald's first employer after his return from Russia. The FBI report on Conway, page 285 of CD5, indicates that Conway has no personal knowledge of Oswald's personal life outside of the plant other than that which appears on his employment application. As a result, I do not think that Conway's deposition need be taken. All right, let's take a look at Hiram L. Conway. Let's grab anything on Hiram L. Conway and let's see if we can't connect him to the CIA. Mrs. John G. Graves, it appears from the FBI report on Mrs. Graves that she has only marginal information about Oswald and that the taking of her testimony would probably not be justified. Tommy Vargas, but I think it's Vargas actually. It says Vargas is the shop foreman for Leslie Welding Company. Seems to know more about Oswald's work there than anyone else. Accordingly, his testimony should be taken on the basic proposition that we are going to interview at least one of Oswald's co-employees from each of his former places of employment. And then it has the names Dennis H. Offstein, John Graef, Graef, and Robert L. Stovall. These 3 individuals are associated with Jaggers Child Stovall, the photographic firm for which Oswald worked from October 62 to May 63. Graef seems to be Oswald's immediate supervisor, and Offstein was another trainee photographer who commenced work about the same time Oswald did. I think the testimony of both these gentlemen should be taken. Perhaps Mr. Stovall's testimony should be taken so that a brief inquiry as to the nature of any classified work done by JCS may be made. Robert Taylor and G.E. Smith. These gentlemen were employees of the Shell service station on the corner of Rock Island and Story Streets in Irving, Texas, in this period around April 63. Taylor says that he bought a rifle from a man who he thinks was Oswald. This gas station is only 6 blocks from the Payne residence in Irving. The taking of these men's testimony could be justified, although it does not seem absolutely necessary at this point. Mr. and Mrs. Floyd Davis. These people own and operate the Sportsdrome gun range in Grand Prairie, Texas, where Oswald was alleged to have practiced with his rifle. The taking of their testimony should be deferred until after Dr. Wood and his son have been examined concerning their statements that they saw Oswald at the above gun range. A determination of whether or not the Davises' testimony should be taken can be made at a later time. Dr. Homer Wood, Sterling Charles Wood, and Kenneth Longley. The Woods say that Oswald at the above rifle range on the afternoon of November 16, 1963, and their testimony on this point should probably be taken. Mr. and Mrs. M.F. Tobias. Tobias is the manager of the apartment house at 602 to 604 Elspeth Street, Dallas, and recalled renting an apartment at 604 Elspeth to Oswald on November 3rd, 1962. Tobias and his wife probably should be examined, since the FBI report shows that they observed a man named George, probably DeMornshield, come to Oswald's apartment. The FBI report indicates that the FBI had an application to rent the apartment at 604 Elspeth, which they showed to Tobias when they interviewed him, and this should be obtained before Tobias is examined. Cliff Roberts. Roberts is a private detective who investigated the attempt on General Walker's life, particularly with reference to the possible involvement of Mr. William McEwen Duff. Roberts should probably be questioned at some point, but not until we've had an opportunity to do a thorough background analysis of the Walker incident. Let's pull these names. Let's pull Cliff Roberts and let's pull William McEwen Duff in reference to the Walker shooting. To people who listen to this podcast, whenever I make comments like that, who I'm talking to are Jim and Mikey and my other guys and Tony in my private research chat who pull stuff for me. Those guys are invaluable. And then Roy Truly. Messrs. Ball and Bellin have a much greater interest in Mr. Truly than we do. I do not know whether they plan to take Mr. Truly's deposition, but I rather doubt it, since I understand that Truly is to appear before the commission itself. Accordingly, I think the taking of Mr. Truly's deposition should be postponed until after we have conferred with Messrs. Ball and Bellin. That's from Wesley Liebler. The next page just has a bunch more lists of names of people that they are going to interview. Roy Truly is amongst them. Here we have a statement from Roy Truly. It says, key person, Dallas, Texas, March 1964. I, Roy Sanson Truly, make the following voluntary statement to Alfred Dean Neely, who has identified himself as a special agent of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I am of the Caucasian race, 56 years of age, and reside at 4932 Jade Drive, Dallas, Texas. I'm employed as superintendent of the Texas School Book Depository, 411 Elm Street. On November 22nd, 1963, I left my office with Mr. O.V. Campbell, Vice President, Texas School Book Depository, residence on Twin Street, Dallas, Texas, about 12:10 for lunch. On leaving the building entrance, I noticed a large crowd of people standing along the street and decided to wait and watch the president's motorcade pass, which was to pass on Elm Street in front of the building. At the time the President, John F. Kennedy, was shot, I was standing with Mr. Campbell in the street just in front of the building entrance. I heard 3 shots fired, and moments later I accompanied a uniformed officer from the Dallas Police Department to the second floor of the building. This officer looked into the lunchroom located at just the back part of the building, 20 or 30 feet from the stairway. Just inside the lunchroom door, Lee Harvey Oswald was standing facing the officer. I identified Oswald as an employee, and the officer and I then proceeded to the roof of the building. We made a quick examination of the roof area, and then I returned to the first floor area and started to account for the location of each of my employees. I was not able to locate Oswald. I did not see Oswald outside the building at the time President Kennedy was shot. I recall seeing Oswald about 8 a.m. when I came to work. He was going about his work of filling orders at the time. I did not see him, as I recall, anymore until the moment I saw him in the lunchroom. I did not see any strangers in the building at any time during the morning of November 22nd, 63. I remained in the building and assisted the officers in every way I could until approximately 7 p.m. when I left for home. I've read this statement consisting of this and 2 other pages, and it is true. All right, so we have another one here, Memorandum, March 1864. Looks like an FBI document. It's very heavily blurred. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to get through on this. Memorandum to Mr. Howard Williams, March 1864, from Messrs. Ball and Bellin, Los Angeles, California. We suggest the deposition of W. Michaelis, Michaelis, office manager of George Rhodes and Company, Inc., be taken and inquiry be made to the following exhibits. Interest Is that what that says? No, photostat of order for revolver. Something, forensic lab exhibit number something. Shipping invoice number A5371, Seaport Traders, Inc. And number 3, sheet from loose leaf notebook, which contains a record of 138 Smith & Wesson revolver shipped to A.J. Heidel, March 20th, 1963. See Bellin Memo, Chicago, Illinois. We suggest the deposition of 2 witnesses be taken in Chicago. William Waldman and Mitchell Sieber, both of Klein's Sporting Goods. These witnesses can testify to the following exhibits. Order blank, dated March 13th, 63, transaction number 270502. Something, control number VC836, showing purchase of one 6.5 millimeter rifle. Number 2, envelope dated March 12th, containing return address of A. Heidel, P.O. Box 2195, Dallas, Texas. And 3, United States postal money order in the amount of $21.45 payable to Klein's Sporting Good. 4, shipping invoice of the rifle from Klein's to Heidel. These witnesses will also testify that the rifle was shipped with scope secured. See Ball Bellin Memo, page 2 to 5. So the rifle was shipped with the scope on it. Dallas, Texas. The witness, I can't read that word. Check time of entry in the building. Witness Truly. The witness, Roy Truly. Check time of entry to the building. Was Oswald in the lunchroom when he first saw him? Was anyone else in the lunchroom? Was the switchboard operator on duty? What is the location of the switchboard with the reference to the lunchroom? And what time was the building closed to entry or exit after the shooting? Were all employees questioned that afternoon as to their position at the time of the shooting? Did Truly record any information taken from employees? Did Truly see anyone else record information taken from employees? When did he first miss Oswald? Did he something employees that could go home? Did he advise employees they could go home before quitting time? At what time did he do this? We are informed that Danny Ark, Jack Doherty, Charles Givens, Junior Jarman, Billy Lovelady, and Bonnie Ray Williams were working on the 6th floor the morning of November 22nd under the direction of William Shelley. Were there any other employees working on the 6th floor that morning on either temporary or permanent assignment? Describe in detail the work that the employees were assigned. Who would have been on the 6th floor at the time that morning? Did he see the pile of boxes around the window of the southeast corner of the 6th floor after the shooting? Was this usual or unusual way in which to pile boxes? Did you have the name of every person who entered that building that morning? Have the FBI check each person for an alibi? Physical check of the building. Check descent from southeast corner of the 6th floor to lunchroom on the 2nd floor with stopwatch. Present enough evidence to commission by deposition or oral testimony. Windows. In the inquiries of Texas School Book Depository employees, determine which employees claim to have been at certain windows. Have each employee identify the particular window at which he or she was standing at the time of the shots. On a photograph of the Houston Street front of the building, make up master list of front of building from this body of evidence. I think that's what it says. Chicken bone story. Bonnie Ray Williams stated that he ate his lunch near the windows of the south side of the 6th floor. That's a mistake. It's 5th floor. He was never on the 6th fucking floor. Jesus Christ. God, does this piss me off. His lunch consisted of some chicken bones and a bottle of Dr. Pepper. The report is that the chicken bones were found near a window on the 6th floor. Have Williams describe the content of his lunch, the place where he ate the lunch. Did he bring his lunch in a sack? Did he see anyone else on the 6th floor while he was eating his lunch? What time did he go down to the 5th floor? Okay, so let me just clarify. When you read he ended up changing his statements later on, but Bonnie Ray Williams, when you read his statements, he ended up leaving the fucking 6th floor at a few minutes before 12 o'clock. He went down to the fucking break room, got his lunch, and he went up to the 5th floor where he was from about 12:10 onward, and then he's there the whole time, and that's where they found the fucking chicken bones. When you go back and you watch the broadcasts from that day, they talk about the chicken bones on the 5th floor, not the 6th floor. They initially claimed the shots came from the 5th floor, but that was obviously not true. Okay? So, all the stuff about Bonnie Ray Williams, he was up there till about 10 minutes to 12. He went down to get his first lunch on the 1st floor, and then he goes back up to the 5th floor at about 10 minutes after 12. Okay, so that's the series of events. All right, elevator. How are they operated? What is their speed? Billy Lovelady, the man who says that he ate his lunch on the 6th floor, started down from the 6th floor at about 11:50 on 2 elevators. Why did they need 2 elevators for 3 men? Oswald was on the 5th floor. Oswald called for them to stop. Oswald yelled at Givens to close the gate, and that Oswald would have the elevator to return to the 6th floor. It's unusual to ride the elevator to the different floors. What purpose did Oswald have on the 6th floor? Was Oswald on the 6th floor when Billy Lovelady returned to eat his lunch? Check something of descent of elevator check the speed of descent of the elevator with a stopwatch. Note Charles Given says the time of descent was at 11:35. Then it says Ball, Bellin memo, etc. The rifle. Present expert evidence to the commission that rifle can be fired accurately 3 times in 5 seconds. FBI agent Courtly Cunningham has fired the rifle. Governor Conley, he should be interviewed by someone. The interview should be conducted by one of us who have some knowledge of the problems. Ball Bellin inspector, when interviewed, he should be shown the moving pictures. The autopsy. Surgeons present an interesting speculations that the bullet found on Governor Connolly's stretcher penetrated both Kennedy and Connolly's bodies. We suggest the interview take place in Dallas, but the commission will probably wait to hear Governor Connolly in Washington. The Irving, I can't read that word. Something WITH. There seems to be a little promise in the interview with the Irving gunsmith. Okay, there seems to be a little promise in the interview with the Irving gunsmith, but in order to quiet all rumors, the exact something should be determined from them. And then the Tippett murder, it says, what was the Tippett's something range? Ask the Dallas Police Department. What description of the suspect could have received over the radio? Remember, because with the Tippett shooting, there was a call about the guy who did it had black hair, but that was really just duplicated from a Dealey Plaza announcement over the police radio, which was of Emilio Santana right after the shots were fired. So that's where that came from. Get the radio log. This deposition of radio operator who was on duty between 12:30 and 1:30 on November 22nd. Then what was the source of the description of the suspect, which was broadcast? Ask Curry, Fritz, etc. That's the suspect that they're talking about. So the suspect was a slender male in his 30s with black hair and a rifle. That's the description. Okay? There's only one shooter that meets, and that's Emilio Santana, who I believe got arrested immediately after the shooting by Baker. What clothing did Oswald have on at the time of his arrest? Asked McDonald. Did Oswald have a zipper front jacket, which was either white or tan? A white zipper jacket was found near the scene of the Tippett murder. Before the examination of William Scoggins, find the description of the Tippett killer, which he gave to the police. Before the examination of Helen Louise Markham, find out the description of Tippett's killer, which she gave to the police. Before the examination of Jeanette Davis, find out description of Tippett's killer, which she gave to police. Before examination of Virginia Davis, find a description of Tippett's killer, which she gave to police. And the same thing goes on for Ted Calloway and Sam Guinard and William Arthur. And then it says, did any of the witnesses advise the police that the killer of Tippett was wearing a white jacket with a zipper front? Yeah, Doris Holland did. The arrest of Oswald, the testimony of George Applin Jr. should be taken by deposition. Apparently, he is in the only lay witness of the arrest of Oswald who has been furnished to Dallas police. If more non-police witnesses are available as to the arrest of Oswald, their deposition should be taken. Yeah, so George Applin's the one who claimed to see Jack Ruby in the Texas Theater, right? And then down at the bottom, police lab, Lieutenant Day, we should make a complete check of the police lab to determine the study of fingerprints and handling of ballistic tests. And then here we go. All right, here we go. This is something we don't ever see in any fucking documents, right? But it's very important. Taxi driver named Daryl Click, Wade, district attorney for Dallas County, stated over television that he had information that Oswald had ridden in a taxi cab driven by Daryl Click. What was the origin of the rumor, which apparently was false? It wasn't false. Totally was not fucking false. But, yeah, so that originally came from Curry, I think, who said that. And then Wade reiterated it. So Daryl Click, obviously related to Bernice Click, Mildred Click, the whole Dave Yaris, David Leon Miller situation. All right, next document here. Looks like President's Commission on the Assassination. March 18th, 64. Memorandum to the Commission from J. Lee Rankin, Special Counsel. Reference schedule of testimony before the Commission. Additional changes have been made in the schedule of testimony from that set forth in the memorandum dated March 6th. The following witnesses are now scheduled to appear during the next 2 weeks. Date March 24th, Howard Brennan, James Earl Jarman, Bonnie Ray Williams, Harold Norman, and Roy S. Truly. It says here, Mr. Brennan is an important eyewitness who observed a man in the window of the 6th floor with a rifle prior to the assassination and saw the man fire one shot. The next 3 witnesses are 3 employees of the depository who were on the 5th floor at the time of the shooting. Mr. Truly, superintendent of the building, can testify regarding his encounter with Oswald immediately after the assassination. And then on March 25th, Baker, Mrs. R.A. Reed, Deputy Sheriff Boone, Deputy Sheriff Luke Mooney, and Patrolman McDonald. Patrolman Baker and Mrs. Reed can testify regarding their encounters with Oswald immediately after firing the shots. Deputy Sheriffs Boone and Mooney are 2 of the police officers who took part in the investigative effort immediately after the assassination and are officers who discovered the cartridge shells in the rifle on the 6th floor of the depository. Patrolman McDonald is the officer who apprehended Oswald in the theater after the killing of Tippett. Then other witnesses, Scoggins on the 26th of March. Scoggins, Markham, Jeanette Davis, and Ted Calloway. Scoggins and Markham were 2 eyewitnesses who saw the killing of Tippett. Davis and Calloway will testify that a man they have identified as Oswald left the scene of the murder with a pistol in his hands. Of course they did. David Ferry. Monday, March 30th, Dr. Charles Carrico and Dr. Malcolm Perry. 2 doctors, Carrico and Perry, are 2 from Parkland, who examined and treated Kennedy. Additional medical testimony will be presented on this day, depending on the outcome of depositions. All right, Tuesday, March 31st, experts from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, other law enforcement agencies, and or independent scientific laboratories. It's anticipated that some expert testimony can be presented to the commission beginning on this date with respect to the questions of ballistics, handwriting analysis, fingerprint identification, and clothing analysis. Messrs. Jenner and Liebler from J. Lee Rankin On your forthcoming trip to Dallas, Texas, you are authorized to take the testimony under oath of the following witnesses upon oral deposition. And we got a whole list of people here I'm not even going to waste your fucking time going into. Let me see if any of them stand out. No, not looking like it. No. Nope, not at all. All right, here we go. A memo to Roy Truly. Airmail. Special delivery, Mr. Roy Truly. 4932 Jade Drive, Dallas, Texas. Dear Mr. Truly, as you know, the commission was established by President Johnson on November 29th, 1963, to investigate and report upon facts and circumstances relating to the assassination of our late President, John F. Kennedy, and the subsequent killing of the alleged assassin, Lee Harvey Oswald. Enclosed for your information are copies of Executive Order number 11130, creating this commission, Senate Resolution 137, and the rules of the procedure of this commission for the taking of testimony. The commission would like you to appear before it on Tuesday, March 24th, 1964, room 400, the VFW building. We would like to have your testimony regarding all of your knowledge pertaining to Lee Harvey Oswald and the assassination of President and the murder of President John Kennedy and the murder of Officer J.D. Tippit. In particular, the commission will question you about your activities and observations on the afternoon of November 22nd. The commission requests that you bring with you all materials, papers, and documents in your possession or under your control for which any reason relate to the assassination of the president or to Lee Harvey Oswald or to the murder of Officer J.D. Tippit. Of course, we would not expect at any time to deprive you of the custody of original documents without your consent. But as to some of these documents, we may want to make copies. Blah, blah, blah. Nothing else really important here. And let me see. All right, so I think I'm going to call it here for today. I got a pretty lengthy memo coming up from J. Lee Rankin to Burt Griffin. And so tomorrow we're going to pick up here. We're on page 91 of 116. I'll try my best to wrap this up tomorrow. If you have not yet subscribed to my Substack, I would appreciate it if you did. Just getting a whole lot of new content, a lot of daily content, all surrounding World War II, the Holocaust, Hitler, Mein Kampf, you name it. All things World War II. The link is in the description here. And if you haven't bought the book yet, I'd appreciate it if you bought the book. It's starting to get into the hands of a lot of people. A lot of people have read this book at this point. I'm very happy about that. Oh, it's another thing. If you bought the book or even if you didn't buy the book, please go to Amazon, leave me a review. Tell them how great it is, all right? I'd appreciate that. And as always, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/JFKbook and make a donation or buy my notes or whatever. Well, that's going to do it for today, guys. I will be back tomorrow, and we will continue here with this file on Roy Truly. Thanks, guys.